Welcome back everyone to the first training week of 2023, where Sam and I were able to come in a little bit earlier than the club opens and get our World Cup preparations started. So as you can imagine, the week was all about just returning to skills, doing basics turns. So you're not going to see too much difficulty. Although at the same time, I was pleasantly surprised with how fast I got back into, doing most of my P-bar skills. I think by the end of the first week, I was already doing half routines on P-bar. Other things came back a bit slower, but all in all, I'm pretty happy with having the time off and how I've come back. I decided to whip out the drone and get some cool angles just for fun. And one thing I noticed shooting from this angle is my arms bend when I'm on the way down in my regular front giant. I wonder if you'll see it in the warm-up sequence. And the reason that stood out to me is because, well, if my arms are bent, that's making me a bit shorter on the bar. And of course, the longer you are, the more power you're going to generate. So if my elbows are bent in a tap for a Maris, that's going to take power away. So you see there on the way down, they bend a little bit. I did then check the tap from that angle, the Maris tap or the Gaylord tap, and the arms are straight during the tap. So as long as they're straight during the tap, I'm fine. I think what might be happening with the bent arms in the regular front giant is a little bit of slip grip to make sure my dowel is over the bar. So you'll see in the tap, they stay straight. There is a smidge of movement, but I think that movement is coming from so much force pushing into the bar. So your elbows have a lot of impact. Taps on taps on taps. This week I tried to do flares on leather. So I've been doing flares on that mushroom. I've built up to doing it on a low mushroom with the single pommel in between my hands. And this week I tried some on the long leather. And I think I rushed into it. Still, it hurts my wrists, my right wrist, to circle or to do really anything in support. Even just a handstand hurts. So flares of course hurts as well. But I noticed that when I went back and did it on the mushroom, I lost some of my flare ability. Not that I was ever any good to begin with, but here day one, I just did it on the usual surface, just a few reps. In a few days, or maybe even the next day, I whipped out the long pommel horse. Now the long pommel horse is flatter, where the mushroom is a little bit round. So with a flat surface, of course, all the pommel horse workers know your wrist takes a big toll. So that's why circling on the floor on a hard surface is so difficult, because massive pains in the wrist for most people. So the mushroom is curved, which means your wrist doesn't have to be so bent. It can be a little bit less bent. But the leather is not curved and it's quite solid. And that's something I didn't take into account. So what I've done since then, I've actually taken a step back, and I think I'm going to build up to doing 10 flares on that over the single pommel. When I can do 10 flares, then I'm going to try again on the leather. Coming back to Heelys is always a bit scary after a long time off. You never quite know what to expect. And in my case, I don't like doing it on a solid mat. A long time ago, I was doing Heelys from one bar on a solid mat, and my legs hit the mat first, and it threw off where I put my hand. So I put my hand down like this and popped the I don't know what to call this, a knuckle, but yeah, popped a knuckle out. Had to go get it pulled back in the hospital. So ever since then, I've only liked to do it on a mat that goes through the bar. There you see me playing with my new idea of piked Stalder. I definitely don't have the natural ability for those sorts of skills. I mean, I can barely do a straddle Stalder, but you know, sometimes when there's nothing else to play with, when you can't do releases, you gotta try something else. So if it does end up culminating into the full skill, it'll give me 0.1. Decided to swing up into the invert, and I don't do the front giant from the, what do you call it, the stem or the pickup. I usually do front giant from handstand, and I'm actually quite bad, I discovered, at swinging just from that stem, that cast. Spent a lot of time trying to get those shoulders closed in the flick flack. Explosiveness wasn't quite there on the first day. Neither was the flip flack, to be honest, but slowly but surely I'm chipping away at it, and we'll see what happens. I think I should be able to put a full twist in double back into my routine this year. Maybe to make it easier, I could do a double Arabian half out. It's a lot easier to coordinate in the air, and it's a lot easier to land, because you get to take your legs and speed up your twist, getting into not your twist, speed up your flip by getting into a tighter tuck. Whereas if I do full out double back full twist in my second flip, the whole thing is open, so I'm gonna flip slower. That's gonna be harder to land. Full in is a bit it's just a bit crazy, because you're ripping the full twist really quick and then trying to get to your legs. It's almost easier to rip into a twist early on a full in compared to a double, because double you kind of just gradually twisting through both flips. But because you know you got to get to your legs in the full in, it makes well, at least it makes me rush to get the twist around so that I can grab my hamstrings. I haven't done a double Arabian half in a very long time. I did it when I was a young teenager, but that was so long ago. I'm gonna have to actually revisit some of the air sense if I'm gonna try it. Ideally, I like the double back full twist. It's a good looking skill. Not everybody does it in that style. Usually you'll have the double Arabian half out, but I feel like you almost never see a double back full twist in the second flip. So there's me saluting a first half to Sam, and I was stoked to get through it. That was only, I suppose, day 3. Must have been day 3 back after all the time off, and all the skills were there, and I was combining them with decent form, with decent execution. There you go. I don't know how I did that. I remember I was surprised. I was like, how did that just happen? I put my hand down at 3/4 and somehow pushed myself all the way around. Now, a thought I've been having is for these World Cups, I might just go ahead and take the Makutes out and just do a B Felga. It's 0.3 less in start value, which will take me down to a 15.9. But I want to maximize my chances of hitting clean and getting into the final. In the final, I can put the Makutes in. But as it stands, Makutes is not a skill that I'm 100% confident in. It's a guessing game. And I think it's a guessing game for most gymnasts. I see the best gymnasts making mistakes on that skill. So it'll be, although the routine will go all the way through till the giant. After the giant, I think it'll be easiest to do the Stutz. After Stutz, do the B Felga, Alcet press. Question is, where would I do the Healy? Because that kind of makes Healy a bit awkward. Doing Healy after the Stutz could potentially be a thing. Doing Healy after the press as my last skill, that's not going to be easy. You're always a bit dizzy at the end of a routine, but Healy for me is a relatively solid skill. There you go, look at that stall durability. I don't know what it is. It must be like a part of my core that's just not turning on. You know, I think it's about 2 years now of me pretty much documenting every single turn I've ever taken in the gym, minus my basic sequences because I don't film those, but otherwise every single turn I have done after my warm-up is documented. And it's pretty crazy to think about. I can go back in any point in time and see what kind of training I was doing, whereabouts in my build-up was I, how it was going. I think when I'm older and I look back at these trainings, it'll be interesting. And I think just for athletes in general, it'll be interesting to see what I tried to do in order to hit in competitions and how it worked out, you know. I remember being obsessed with watching lots of guys training videos. Like back in the day, there was Fabian Hambuchin, there was Alexei Nemov, Hiroyuki Tomita, Yang Wei, Kohei Uchimura of course came after that. But when I would go to World Championships, I would just watch and watch and watch them, because I thought of course they had all the secrets. What I didn't understand back then is that everybody has to find their own unique way of progress, depending on their body, depending on their training situation, etc. But that's not to say that you can't learn and pick up something here and there from watching a variety of different athletes. Bit early. Is this the day where I got Sam to slide? Yeah. So I was gonna do a nice and deep tap, bring it close to the bar, and then look what happened. I went even further away. Really annoying when that happens. You go deep, you think you've gone deep, and in the back of your head you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna be really close to the bar, and then you open up and you land on the edge of the mat. It's like, man, something's not adding up. So here comes my first attempt at flares on the leather. Look at that. Look at that. Two-time Olympian working those flares. Everybody sucks at something, fam, and I suck at flares. Yeah, I think I'm being really overprotective of that right wrist. It doesn't look like I'm leaning onto my right arm at all. That one was a little bit better. And then I came back to mushroom expecting for it to be easy, and what do I get? It's not easy, it's harder than it was before. So I'm gonna stick with this mushroom for the time being. Now to finish, did a couple things I don't usually do. I did some triple twists off the air track, and stick around to see me throw a brand new vault. There we go. When you can't land a handspring front, but you'll throw a double. Yep, I threw a double onto my butt, but I threw it nonetheless. And I lost a bit of strength over break, and I actually I hurt my chest, which I'll explain in the training week after this. But there you go. Another year coming of me posting every single turn. Thank you for following. Until next time.